This was me 6 years ago. This was me just a couple of months ago. And this is me right now as we speak. Now the difference between the first two is about 29 kilograms. And the fact that 6 years ago, I sucked at losing fat. I had no clue what to do, and I had no clue what information I should trust and what I could just throw out. Ultimately, I sucked at losing fat because of these 3 reasons. Look, here's the thing. Losing fat is actually surprisingly easy once you get down to the basics of what losing fat actually needs to be. Now, I'm not here to talk you through the science, just through the steps of how to actually lose fat. Presumably, you don't want to end up skinny fat. I see this all the time. You have guys that spend all of their waking hours running 10 miles, 20 miles, and these guys get great at running and certainly build up functional endurance. But if you notice, they also end up looking fat, just skinnier, which is weird, but that's what skinny fat is actually called. It's essentially when you don't build any muscle, but you lose fat. You lose weight, and in the meantime, you also end up losing, well, muscle. And that's not what you want. Now, considering that's not what you want, you don't just need to be losing fat, you also need to be gaining muscle, aka this is what's called body recomposition. Body recomposition is actually extremely easy. All you really need to do is these 3 things. First and most important, you need to figure out how calories work. Now, there is a base maintenance calories at resting metabolic rate, plus your activity level that you can calculate if you just go to any one of the millions calorie calculators online. So go do that now. Alright, so for body recomposition, eating less calories will basically get you to start losing weight. Whether that's from fat, water, or from muscle, that's going to be decided on by the next 2 points. But regardless, you need to be in a calorie deficit of some sort. Alright, so now that you've got your maintenance calories, you need to eat less calories, but how much less? Well, at least 200 less calories than what your maintenance calories are. So if you're at 2,500 maintenance for the day, you should be eating at least 2,300 calories, and you'll slowly begin to see that weight drop off. But for some of us, that might be a bit too slow. And if you're extremely overweight, you don't really need to go that slow. You can go a lot faster. So I would recommend anywhere between 700 and 1,000, depending on how much weight you need to lose. So if you need to lose roughly 20 kilos, 15 kilos, you can end up on that high range and you can still build muscle at that high range while losing that fat. However, if you're at around 20 to 15% body fat, here I'd suggest losing it a little bit slower. Keep the maximum that you're going to be losing at 700 calories a piece. And by a piece, I do mean a day. Why? Because as you're losing those calories, you're eating less and less, which means you're nutritioning your body less and less. Hormones can get out of balance and fat loss can reduce to a sluggish state even when you're eating far less calories. What you want to do is you want to basically just eat whole foods at maximum of a 700 calorie loss. Like that, you should be losing roughly 0.5 to 0.75 of a kilo every single week. Now that's pretty fast, all things considered. Number 2, you need to strength train. Now if you don't know what progressive overload is, I highly recommend you go and figure that out. But basically it's just a method of slowly increasing the amount of reps or amount of weight or the difficulty of a certain exercise that you want to do in a week or in a day so that you can over time build more muscle. Progressive overload is perfect for hypertrophy. Hypertrophy just means building muscle. So you need to strength train in order for your body to know what it needs to keep and what it needs to build. You tear your muscle and then it builds it back bigger and stronger. But you need number 3 for that as well. Now number 3, while simple, is going to make all of the difference. Make sure that you are eating at the very least 1.6 times your desired body weight in protein. So if you're like me and you want to reach around 80 kilograms, you have to eat roughly 125 grams of protein every single day at a minimum. 2 times is optimal, and the leaner you are, the more protein you need in order to keep the muscle when you're losing the fat. And the bigger you are, the less protein you need, because you really just want to be losing that fat hard. Your body has so much fat stores, it knows what it's doing. Now, eating enough protein, like I say, is critical. Number 1, you're going to be in a calorie deficit. That's going to drop the weight. Number 2, you're going to be strength training so that your body knows what to build and what to keep when you are losing weight. And number 3, you're going to be eating the protein so that you have the fundamental raw materials and building blocks that your body needs to use in order to build the sweet ass pyramids that you got going on your arms. Now, the second reason that both you and I sucked at losing fat is our inability to be consistent. And that usually comes with way too much pressure on ourselves to actually lose the fat and lose it fast. Here's what happens, and comment down below if this sounds familiar. You get super excited. Monday comes because you need to wait for Monday in order to actually get started on anything. Monday comes and you begin your fat loss journey. In earnest this time. Not next week. You know, you promised yourself last week, but this time it'll be in earnest. So you start, and day 1, you're eating perfectly clean. Day 2, perfectly clean. Day 3, perfectly, but you have a little bite of chocolate. Day 4, you have some Coke. Day 5, you have a cake. And day 6, you've just divulged again. So even though you had 3 good days, the 4 bad days kill everything. And you're either at maintenance, or even worse, you've gained weight at the end of the week. Here's what you should realize when it comes to losing fat, and in doing anything in life realistically. Consistency beats perfection every single time. Now, make no mistake, I might have lost all of that weight, but inside I'm still a fatty. Inside, I still love my cake, I still love my fizzy drinks, and I still love my crisps. But the difference between me back then and me now is that I actually let myself off every once in a while. So in a day, if I want a little piece of chocolate, I'll have it. And I'm not gonna let myself feel guilty about that, right? And the way I don't feel guilty about it is by not cordoning it off 100%. Now, if I have 5 muffins at home, obviously I don't gorge on them. But if I want a little piece, just to sate that need for the muffin, I'll have that little piece and I won't feel any which way about it. And then I'll carry on. I might even have a day where I absolutely go ham and I ruin 2 days worth of progress. But guess what? That might fix me up. Tomorrow, I go in even harder. I don't let that hold me back from completing the goal at the end. Actually, a test was done between 2 groups of people, one that were being perfect and one that weren't. Now, the one that were being perfect lost the fat. They lost the fat and they lost it a lot faster than the other group. However, within 2 years, pretty much all of them had regained or gained more fat than at the point in which they started at. The other group, on the other hand, reached their goal and then maintained. A couple of them went up a little bit, but they were much easier in getting back down. This is the difference between me a couple of months ago and a me now. I let myself off here or there. I fluctuate. I realize that what's going on the scales and what's going on over here doesn't stay the same day to day, week to week, month to month, or even year to year. Ultimately, I have my plan and ultimately I have what I want. However, I've noticed during the winter months, I'll pack on a few kilos, 2, 3, 4 kilos. And during the summer months, I take it off quite easily. As a matter of fact, this time last year, I was 91 kilos. So a couple of months before the couple of months that you already saw, when I looked like this, I was 91 kilos. Here, I'm about 80.5, and right now, I'm sitting at about 85.5. So the stuff fluctuates, but I don't let myself get beat up over it. I just look to eat healthy, and when I need to eat in a little bit of a caloric deficit, I let myself do that as well. Consistency beats perfection every time. So let yourself breathe, have that piece of chocolate, or have that weekend that you need because you haven't had one in 2-3 weeks, and then go for it. Side note, Mom Chew over here, sleep is also a crazy key. Being able to keep your hormones in check matters so much. So as little pro tips, number 1, if you sleep more, you'll build more strength, which means that your base metabolism is going to be higher, but also that's when your body burns the most calories. So if you're sleep deprived, you're going to be losing weight a lot slower. And number 2, if you just eat whole foods 90% of the time, you're pretty much set on the consistency level. Hell, even 80% of the time, I say to most people. 20% let yourself off, 80% be solid. That still leaves you with 60% ahead from where you were. And finally, the last reason why I sucked at losing fat was that my priorities just weren't right. I tell myself that I don't have time today, or I don't have time tomorrow, or during the weekend I don't have time. But guess what? I had time every single one of those times. I was just lying to myself. You see, me back then prioritize things like getting drunk on the weekends every single weekend over actually working out. He prioritized going out after work with his colleagues instead of getting back home, getting the sleep he needed in order to lose the fat, in order to be ready, well rested, and in the mood to work out tomorrow. And that's the thing I see all the time online. Funny fact, my most hated videos were the ones where I ask people to take self-accountability into measure. The responsibility to lose the fat is yours and yours alone. Society won't do it for you, and certainly the companies that made you think that cereal for breakfast was a good idea, they won't do it for you either. Only you can do it. And it takes effort, but effort and pain now is chosen and increases quality of life considerably. If you don't go through the ringer now, life is just gonna put you down in the future. Anyway, that's what I realized. Once I realized that, it all started to click. I had a light bulb go off in my head, and I started eating healthier. I started running, I started working out, I started strength training, and it all kind of fell together like puzzle pieces. Now you probably sit in at least one of these three categories. Self-improvement requires brutal honesty, and that's where you need to start with. Which one on these three are you lacking? Did you not have the knowledge? Are your priorities just not straight? Or are you going way too hard on yourself? Whichever one it is, acknowledge it and recognize that it's going to take time to get out of the negative habits, but slowly and surely it will happen. With that being said, good luck.